So, why is self activation the most important thing to do before anything else, before any other course, and before starting your own business or trying to find your purpose? Now, when people think about changing their life, they think, oh, I need to do a course, or I need to do another coaching session, or I just need another certificate. And then they finish that one, and then they think, maybe just one more, and then another one. And this highlights the first truth bomb. And that is that this can actually become an avoidance tactic because it actually stops people from taking actual steps towards their dream. It stops them from experimenting and making their own mistakes and putting things into reality. And what I usually find is that people already have the skills and the tools and everything they need to just get started. And actually, what the blockage here is that they have fear of actually trying and potentially failing. And this brings us to the second truth bomb, and that is that most courses are not designed to self activate your individuality and to give you the self autonomy to make those decisions for yourself and to come up with your own processes and steps. Usually, what coaches are teaching are the tried and experimented methods that worked for them. They give you a process that worked for their energetic and genetic makeup. Now, that might not work for you, depending on how closely aligned your genetic and energetic makeup is to them. So, you might be following a model that's not even correct for you, or a marketing style that doesn't really work for your authentic self, or it's actually putting you into burnout because the system isn't really aligned to the kind of system and environment that you need. Now, this is also a problem because it keeps you reliant on these external sources because you're not activated and confident enough to create your own processes. And this is why self-activation and self-autonomy is so key to giving the power to yourself and then not always having to seek out another course and seek out another certificate. The whole point of this is that you know how to take your own steps and to empower your own gifts. And this highlights the third truth bomb, and that is that most courses do not get deep enough to the heart of the problem. They're not actually designed to weed out the actual blockages that are stopping people from moving forward. And they're not really designed to help you get really clear on what you do best and how to optimize who you uniquely are. So you might even have a business model or a product that you've chosen because you think that that's going to be the most likely one to succeed, rather than actually picking a business model that is exactly suited to your passions and your skills. And I know this story well. I have started so many side hustles, and each side hustle was really revolved around the question of, well, what's the best way that I can work for myself and still make money? But the problem was that 6 months down the track, I was not really passionate about it. The work was really difficult, and I was just getting stuck again in an unhappy place. So if you're in a course or a business coach and you've got your product or your business idea, they're going to do exactly what you've paid them to do. And that is to help you build that business. But they're not necessarily going to help you to understand whether that business is even right for you or not. And because it also doesn't address the deeper dysfunctional behaviors, it's really hard to even get clear on those ideas. And it's really hard to even see why those blockages are there. So maybe once you finish the course, you go out on your own and you're still having this perfectionism and this procrastination and this overthinking piling on top of every single step that you do. And the whole point of self-activation and starting your own business is so that you find your flow and your life of ease so that you can easier step into your contentment, fulfillment, and success. So if we're not actually dealing with these deep problems, it doesn't matter how good the course is or the coach or the certificate is, you're still going to come across the same problems when you're out on your own, running your business or leading your purpose-led career. So this is exactly why I created the Self-Activation Academy, because I was in certain coaching containers and I could see these same problems coming up. People having a million different ideas and not knowing which one they should choose. Or they would be talking about self-sabotaging behaviors or having so many different unfocused actions that they weren't really taking any focused action in any direction. This is why I created the dysfunctional course, which is designed to be a pre-course to all the other courses that you do. Because if you are activated and empowered and you know who you are, then you're going to make better decisions about exactly which coaches or courses are perfect for you, but also how to adapt the advice and know whether it will work for you or not. Because what we really must understand is that all external advice is just one part of the solution. That is an unbalanced part. That's like rowing with only one oar. You go around in circles, you're putting in the work, you're kind of getting somewhere, but you're not racing to the finish line. That's because we need to balance it with your internal source. This is like the yin-yang system, the duality. So anything that you absorb from the outer world or outer advice must be interpreted and adapted for your internal genetic and energetic makeup. And that is exactly what we do in the Self-Activation Academy and through my dysfunctional course. And this is designed to help you be exactly positioned where you need to be to take step 1 and step 2 and step 3 to your purpose. So even though these other courses are going to equip you with the know-how and the step-by-step processes, they're not going to be truly useful for you unless you've dealt with the following 3 things. So the first thing you need to really understand and get clear on are what are your unique gifts, skills, vulnerabilities, passion, experiences, and how do these all contribute to your purpose, or what I call your success niche. Now, I consider the success niche the kind of money-making side of your purpose, because when you find the exact niche that is you, that nobody else can compete with, that nobody else can be, success will naturally come. And this is where you actually need to lead your business from. And this is actually one of the biggest problems that I see when people are not really bringing in successful clients, is because their success niche is not clear. When they're not really clear on what they do best, other people also aren't really clear on what you do best. So if you're not clear on what your success niche is, we go through this in the dysfunctional course. And this is really crucial before stepping into your purpose-led business or starting a purpose-led lifestyle. Second thing you really need to be aware of is what's in your subconscious slave and what dysfunctional behaviors are actually in play. Many times we think we're in control and that we're coming up with the answers, but a lot of the times it's actually our dysfunctions that are making the answers for us. And they're buried very, very deep in our subconscious slave. We don't even realize that they're the puppeteer and we're the puppet. So if you're not aware of how they're in control, then maybe when you're making a decision, you don't realize that actually your fear of failure is making the decision, or your low self-worth is actually putting your prices lower than they should be, or your overthinking is making you go in 10 different directions when really you only needed to go in one. So we really need to clean up these dysfunctions and what's running the show in the subconscious slave to make sure that we're making our best decisions and that we're really getting the best of our gifted potential. Because these dysfunctions usually block our gifted potential. They cause another behavior to come out instead of the true gifts that we have. The problem is that these behaviors really make everything twice as hard. So for every one physical step you're taking, you might be having all this emotional and mental baggage tagging along as well. So every time you try to move forward, you're actually reaching burnout. And this is what causes people to give up. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're not trying hard enough. It's because every step they're taking has multiple layers of dysfunctions and burnout behaviors that is really making it difficult to move forward with ease and get more success. So every step they take is 10 times harder than it has to be for only half the amount of reward. And the biggest dysfunctional behavior to be aware of is what is happening with your self-esteem and your external validation, because this is the number one reason people give up their entire business plan, is when they start taking those steps. They don't realize that they're so attached to how people will receive it that if they don't get enough likes on their post, or maybe their first launch fails, they're not confident enough that they believe what they're doing is exactly aligned to their niche, that the dysfunctional behavior comes out and makes them scrap their entire business plan, or maybe what they carefully prepared for 6 months, they completely redo it again in a whole different way. So this also really stops them moving forward and stepping into their power. So any course that you do is not going to be effective if you haven't dealt with that second problem, and that is understanding what's in your subconscious slave and dealing with those dysfunctional behaviors. The third thing you need to understand is how you uniquely operate and the systems and environments that help you blossom and thrive. So if you're in the wrong system, it's really difficult for your gifts to come out. I always liken this to the plant analogy. When we have a plant that is maybe not getting the right amount of sun or soil or water, it starts to wilt. It doesn't blossom. It doesn't grow into the best thing that it can be. Instead, it goes in the completely opposite direction and might even die. Humans are exactly the same. If their systems and environments aren't right, they're not going to blossom. They're not going to find ease and start tapping into their best gifts. Instead, they usually find they're fighting against themselves and they're struggling to move forward. So if you don't understand what systems work for you and the exact environments you need and how you uniquely operate, then it doesn't matter if you go and do another course, because you're not going to know how to adapt that or whether their systems and environments are going to work for you. And I'll just give some very simple examples. One of the main systems is whether you should have a very structured day or whether you should have a very loose day. For some people, if they put too much structure, it completely stops all their creativity and flow and ideas. Whereas other people, if they have no structure, they actually don't go anywhere. They just run around in circles. So this is really one of the biggest things that can make or break somebody's day. The environments can be whether you need a team or an office environment. Some people completely lose steam when they work alone, whereas other people get completely distracted if they have too much going on in their environment. So you also have to know how to create the perfect work environment for all your gifts to come out and not block all that potential. Because if you don't know how you operate and the systems and environments that you need, you're just going to keep ending back up in that burnout and dysfunctional mode, because you're not working with your best abilities, you're working against yourself and putting yourself in that environment that's causing you to wilt. The other thing is that all of these behaviors and all of these going in too many directions and making mistakes, they all burn energy. So what happens is people often give up. So if you tackle all of these behaviors before you start your business and before you make your big purpose power play or before you do another course, it's going to go much easier and you're going to reach your success and your goal much quicker. Now, this is not to say that you have to fix all of these things before you start a business, because some people really learn on the job. And as they're doing the process, they're really releasing these things and learning through that experimentation and failure what works for them and what doesn't work for them. So if that's the path that you also want to take, then I only just suggest that you have a means or security or some kind of stability to allow that longer process for your experimentation. And this is because the answers to those questions I just listed takes time. We have to dig out all this baggage and really take a deep look at ourselves before we can really even answer them. And that's what we're going to do in the Self-Activation Academy, and why I created it as a monthly membership, because you'll have somebody there and support and accountability each step of the way. Because this is not a quick fix, short game. If you're really dedicated to stepping into your purpose and making this your lifestyle and career and business, this is for life now. This is your life journey. So sit back, get comfortable, and let's build a really stable foundation before you actually start making bigger steps. And we're going to do that together in the Self-Activation Academy.